Welcome to The Grant, the EU funding podcast. The Grant. My name is Niels Tudor Winter, and I'm the creator, editor, and host of The Grant. The Grant is an independent podcast initiative with the ambition to dig into all corners of the EU R&D funding system with topics of interest for the full EU R&D funding community. Implementation is where projects live or die. We've all been in consortium meetings that slide from kick-off euphoria into silent struggle, slide marathons, unclear roles, and thin decisions. It is time for another episode in my implementation series, and in this episode I zoom in on the social architecture of delivery. How to design rhythms, roles and rules so a set of entities becomes a team, and how to make kickoffs and meetings truly collaborative. Organizational consultant Mónica Expositor Blasco, and collaborative architect as she calls herself, joins me in the virtual podcast studio to unpack practical tools, phase kickoffs, interactive formats, and a light team playbook that sets communication norms and decision paths. This is part one of a two-part conversation on the human side of implementation. Please enjoy. The Grant. Welcome to The Grant, the EU funding podcast. Today, I am continuing my implementation series, and it's as regulars will know, my series they are long. They take a while because I insist on the detail. I insist on having every single piece of proposal preparation and project implementation being dug into that and discussed it, and most often with an expert that has been doing exactly that thing for many times. Now, so I have a guest today. So Mónica, welcome.
Hi, Niels. Thanks for having me.
And thanks. Today we're going to talk about the social elements of the implementation but a little bit more depth to that. But before we do anything else, could you shortly present yourself to the listeners?
Sure. So, hi, everyone. My name is Mónica Expositor Blasco. I'm based in Spain, have been part of, the work of the world of EU-funded projects a while ago. But today I'm coming from a different angle. I mean, more like what's probably better known as organizational consulting. And my mission here is to, some of the learnings of that worldview to bring them back into EU funding projects, because we have real potential to do things in a better way, working together in a better way, in that implementation that Niels was mentioning. So I'm very much looking forward to sharing, some of the insights, some of the potential that can be brought into this type of work together.
Yeah, and you have been recommended to me by the great Nicole Schmidt from Utema. So, and regulars again will recognize the name of Nicole. She's been on the show a couple of times in this implementation series, and you're working together with Georg and Nicole. So they recommended you to share your insights from your work, because they use you you work together on exactly this, where you use your capacities on this. Now, short fly-in, we're going to talk about that element that few people actually think about when you sit and write a proposal and when you start the project out, but it's probably one of the things that is the success of a project, because everybody runs into problems here and there, some even difficult problems in the project, but it's always good. It's always best handled, so to say, if you actually are tight-knit, not just around the content, but also around the other elements that are human psychology of being together in a collaboration. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And this is one of the rare occasions where my guest forwards me a rundown. to open up the world of the podcaster, my dear listeners, it's I normally have my meetings with my guests, and based on that, I develop the agenda, the extended agenda. It's called a rundown in podcast language. And the dear Monica here, she returned another one after I sent this one.
Yes.
It's very nice, and it's very good. I love it because it means dedication. That's excellent. So it's wonderful. It means that there's really thought and heart behind what we're going to talk about today. So that's nice. So if I stumble a little bit here and there for your listeners, that's because it's not it's.
Sorry, Niels. Yeah.
No, but it's fantastic.
I think that already speaks a bit about, how I approach things, no? Or how my, let's say, this type of profession approaches things when we think about the way we work together, right? So it's everything that we prepare has an intention, has some thought behind, has something that we want to achieve, no? And it talks about, posing the questions. So did this really, reflect our discussion, our meeting, our exchange? What is that we can, achieve together? Or how can we provide more value to, in this case, your listeners of the Grand Podcast? So spending a bit of that time at the beginning usually pays off later, right?
Always, preparation is everything.
Yeah, like the same for when we work together in a EU-funded project in Horizon Europe or whatever other funding scheme. So thank you, Niels, for also, welcoming that also during now, especially in holidays.
Yeah.
I'm Thomas Brent, and you should definitely listen to The Grant because it is the best podcast on European funding. Listen to it, give it a 5-star rating, go.
Amen. Now, Monica, the first block here that you sketched out, a consortium's typical story. So, can you walk us through it?
Yeah. So obviously, please, a bit with quote unquote, parentheses. Obviously, I'm gonna paint a black and white picture. Not all projects are like that. No
contrast
are the same. Yeah, but contrast. But it does. I'm sure it's gonna ring a bell, and it's gonna bring memories to everyone that is involved in this type of projects. And obviously, myself, as I was saying, I had my hands-on experience in 2010 till 2013, by the way, with Georg Meltzer from UTIMA back then. And when I look back at that, this is what I remember. And when I got back again with Nicole and Georg and the whole crew from UTIMA, it was like, things have changed, but not that much. And it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't change that much in other organizations. So when I think of the consortium typical story, what is for me there, like the big header is, we have the grant award euphoria, yeah? When, we made it, we put a lot of effort, probably a few people, a core group, writing that proposal, and a lot of brains and a lot of how to find the right partners, at least now on the paper, that makes sense. And then we start, there's the enthusiasm of a few at least, and a whole bunch that are, carried and, pulled. And at some point, this moves into, fades away and moves into more of a silent struggle and a bit of uncertain impact of where are we heading? What are we actually doing? Why do we do what we do? What was the intention behind this task? Why are we having this deliverable, right? So visible story is black and white, yeah? We win this, congratulations. It's the first step, yeah? We have a bunch of entities legally binded to achieve a mission and some, outputs and some tangible stuff and impact and so on. And what we do is we start focusing on, delivering the tangible outputs to meet contractual obligations. Now, what the commission are expecting from us. So on paper, if we're lucky, we get together, we have our meeting, everyone presents themselves, and we start somehow working together, following the plan that we had in that proposal. And the first impression, if things work well, so if deliverables are submitted on time, then kind of functioning, from the outside. But there's also an invisible story to this. So there's the human reality. That previous one, that side of the coin is what is reported. But then we have the human reality. So at some point, a few are putting a lot of effort in starting that. Some others are carried are coming along. But a few, probably the coordination team, project management team, start to fall into the role of babysitting partners, going after them, where they're not attending, or they're not coming to the meetings, or they're not replying back emails. So they start to fall into the role of babysitting. Then there's frustration that grows with what are called the free riders. So those who don't contribute their fair share, whatever it's supposed to be the fair share. There's some budget, but depending on the country, is that too much, too little? So these things start to come up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, at the beginning, having the grant and great, we have that for the beginner excitement. That is the novelty bias of starting something, where everyone they want to put the best face, and their best intentions. Also, I'd say at the beginning, they have people that come along, show up. But probably these people sometimes are not the ones that are going to be doing the work even,
Mm-hmm.
So these key partners that are actually probably key decision makers or strong representatives of organizations slowly also fade away and become, the project hunters, go to the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or the other, other tasks that they have other organizations. So the big picture and the actual progress become unclear, no? Because of this. And also we have another thing happening. We have this fear of food shooting. So people do realize, and I remember this well, that things are, something's off. We should be talking about this. Someone is not attending. We are not delivering that. Someone didn't speak. They committed to doing something and something didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
So leading to this silent disconnection and some people getting annoyed, right? So as I said, it's black and white. There's different types of stories, but more or less, this is something that happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does it ring a bell to you, Niels? That you've
Of
been...
course. Yeah. And you, but it's not people's work. It's so people have other responsibilities, and then they have the project. And if there's a loose, or if there's something that doesn't tick right, it's human psychology, right? Then people, this project, it's then they focus on their work and they don't respond to emails right away. They don't, I guess they don't prioritize coming to partner meetings, stuff like this. So that's and then it's always the same. You have the enthusiasm, and then you have the fatigue.
The fatigue.
The fatigue. But it's each group has a different energy, right? If it's a group with a good energy, then it's easier to keep up steam. Also, when you move on, people start looking forward actually to the next time you have a partner meeting. There might be a good exchange on social media when things are being thrown. You're like, and then you have the other projects. Where it's just humping and bumping along, it's with a limp, it's
and as you're saying this is interesting because we categorize somehow the ones or the context that has a good energy, or we have committed people, and the others that just for some reason is not happening like that, right? And this is interesting because it's a let's say it's a way of looking at the situation. Obviously, if we have better conditions because people are a bit more connected or committed, I don't know, they're young, or however the plan has been set up, makes a bit more sense for those that are actually going to be involved. But that is kind of leaving it too much to the, chance of things working because we have a bit more of energy here in comparison with this other project. Or to the idea of, because this is just one project, this is the project, but I actually have my other responsibilities. These thoughts, the interesting thing is they can be tricky. They're a bit of a crux, for us when we're working. Yeah. So if we do attach to those or give, let's say, power to those thoughts, this is what actually happens. Yeah. Meaning not leave it just to the fate of who's there to happen, but actually, what if, we can actually create conditions so that this project together becomes something where we are engaged and we are attracted to putting energy and intention, and yet organize our time, knowing that not everyone is super, 100% of the time involved in the project. That makes sense, yeah. But this happens also in organizations. Yeah. It's rare that you have one person dedicated to the one project or the one, type of task or type of work. Yeah.
Now, for everybody who has been involved in projects out there, you know exactly how the typical format is when it comes to the social element. So it's typically for the in-person events. It is typically, you have, of course, the dinner, the official dinner, so to say. You might have more dinners, but there is one that is the official one, so to say, in a nice restaurant, whatever. And then you might have some other social gatherings that the coordinator has arranged throughout that day and a half that it typically is, and then that's sort of it. Then it's often bilateral. Should we go out for a beer, or should we you have a chat from on the way back from the conference site to the hotel, or stuff like this. The more creative ones that I've been with, then they arranged maybe some games, some serious games or whatever.
Team building
during during the actual program. But that's pretty much it. And we all know them, because especially us that's been in the game for many years, that's pretty much it. And this is what this episode is we're going to shake it a little bit, because you have been doing these things and you sort of have an approach to this as your capacity. You're an expert on this. So this is to shake the cage a little bit. So let's just hit right to the next block here on that you have labeled the diagnosis symptoms of a weak architecture.
Yes. So first of all, why I'm talking about architecture. So I if I have to put a tag on myself for what I do, I think a bit the role is collaboration architect. Yeah. Yeah. So why I'm saying collaboration architect, and now I explain the symptoms. Yeah. So most of people, when they think of someone that comes to support a project so that it runs well, we think of the figure of the figure of the project manager, or something on the style, or the coordinator, right? Totally needed, but there's other things that are needed there. So people, when they ask me, often they think I'm a facilitator, and it's one of the roles that I take. Yeah. So, but I'll try to explain. A facilitator makes a single meeting run smoothly. Another role that I take, a guide, can show you a path that others have taken, a method, a way of running a meeting, for example, and explain how it works. But the collaboration architect does something different. It doesn't just make one room look nice. They try to design the whole building. Yeah, they think about the foundation, the structure, the flow between the rooms, how the building will stand up with the stress off over time. So it's about designing with intent that building, that way of working together. It's creating like a blueprint of to ensure how it's strong and fit for purpose. And we have to think what the project wants to achieve, what is the level of complexity, or the different parts, what is the plan that's already set, and see what are the constraints, how we can play within that. And that's an architecture you can create. For example, the kickoff, usually you described already this meet 1.5 days, start of the project, we have some information exchange going on, and we have a dinner. That's it. But what if we start asking ourselves, okay, what do we want to achieve? What is needed? What are the conditions of the project? We can design a process for that kickoff, or we can have a playbook for the long run of the project. How are we going to be working? What are the rules of our game working together? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What are the communication rhythms? What are the tools? What are yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And from then, designing that architecture, then guiding how we work on it and how we, grow into that and make it ours. Yeah, that's the guiding part of that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just to put a note to that, why that title of weak architecture. So let me come back now to what is actually that we see. Yep. So as I was mentioning a bit before, the core problem is that we rely a lot on informal habits and just project management administration.
Yeah.
So great informal habits, welcome. They have to exist. Yeah, we need that natural whatever comes up, and then sometimes we have to shake those. But we cannot just rely on that. And project management has some objectives. Let's see, has a specific functions, but it does not help in the way that the social, space, how the social space is designed and configured and brought to life so that we are collaborative with each other. Not a bunch of entities with a few people picked up and put together. So there's no intentional design involvement. The symptoms of that. So how do we know we have a weak architecture? Is, for example, in the kickoff, what you see and what I experienced very much in the past, and I've seen in other, again, this is one-to-one, very similar in different contexts, meaning in a company organization out of EU projects, is information dump. So someone comes from partner organization and this is our entity, we're doing this, our task, objectives 1, 2, 3, and task deliverables, and for example, that's the classical one.
Yeah.
And we go on, and the next partner, and the next And maybe, luckily, they stay and they pay attention to a piece of it, of the first things that they have to do and discuss a little bit. Some discuss, yeah. But most of the time, what we see is information down. We have passive observers. So in the big room, however big or small is the project, we have passive observers. We don't have engaged owners.
Mm-hmm.
There's no questions. There is no what ifs. There is no, hey, what actually do we want this kickoff to bring? Eh?
Mm-hmm.
So someone designs some agenda and everyone comes. Yeah. So that's one thing. Another is these meetings or other types of meetings. Obviously, the kickoff is one of the biggest and most known, let's say, artifacts that this type of projects have. But it's just in regular, let's say, update meetings and check-in meetings and productive meetings where you see there's a drain in energy instead of creating it. Only a few run the show, talk, discuss. They have the agenda or they're louder. Yeah. A few at the end, a few parts of the work, others are just, there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the result of this type of symptoms and what I hear very often, they're not speaking up. This guy is not coming up and saying what they're doing, or why do they come to me after and question things and don't do it in the meeting or when we are together with the other partner. And we put all the pressure and the expectations on the individuals. But what we don't realize is that this is a symptom that we are not creating the space and the way of, running that in the case of a meeting, a meeting that brings people and the previous work that needs to be done for people to really to step back and feel comfortable and wanting to, yeah. So what we have is slow start, misalignment, missed opportunities, yeah.
But it's also, these meetings, they have a certain, and this is people who have been following this series will know that the former episode I did with exactly Nicole Smith, we went through the formal program. Yeah. How is a meeting? I both had a kickoff. Now that was actually the kickoff meeting episode, and I have a consortium meeting episode already recorded and released. So you have this. You have to go. There's some formalities that you need to cover, especially the kickoff, but also the consortium meeting. So how is the status in the work packages? In the kickoff meeting, it is what are the work packages about? So you will have people coming up and then they will deliver a PowerPoint presentation about their work package. And often sometimes you have horizontal work packages that sort of cover complementary to a handful of other work packages, but often you'll have the work packages that only has the interest of you. And so there you have a inherited design failure if you want people to engage, because one thing is that they have a normal job with normal worries about what they have to deal with that, and now they are coming for an event where they are focused on what they do. Yeah. And to get them engaged in communication dissemination when they sit with the LCA, or if they sit with analysis of the mapping, it's rough work for the person that is running the show, doing and setting up the meeting, to make that engaging.
Yeah, definitely. But that's the interesting thing is the person that is running the meeting doesn't have to make it. And I'm taking your words as anyone would say this. That's very typical, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
To make it engaging, or to make it entertaining, or to make it. That's not the thing, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, we are inheriting a way of doing this. Yeah, we are expecting that, presenting partners, running through, revising. Okay, what are the work packages about? Da, 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 da. Hey, who said this has to be done this way? Yeah. So it's about questioning. We are having a bunch of partners with, 20 to 80 people potentially meeting 1.5 days, 2 days, 3 days. That's a lot of logistics. That's a lot of resources. That's a lot of brain power, and even, willingness, and even wanting to do something that is worth it. It's a missed opportunity. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So here it's about questioning. When we gather, in the case of gathering together, what is most important? What should happen there? And not fear to question that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because for reading through what the proposal, so what the project says, and the work plan and so on, this can be done separately. This can be done before. Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's no really, this is not the space for that. That's not the opportunity. We are not really going for the full potential of gathering so many people with so much brain power. And it's setting, in this case, in a kickoff, it's the launching of a project the next months. Yeah. So again, this is about designing the system for success, designing the steps for success. So this is needing us. So in a consortium, who's going to be involved, finding out who are most of the core people that are going to be working there. And what we need is people need to understand. So this is pure psychology. People, to get engaged, they need to understand. They need to connect with others to know who's the other one that is going to be involved. What is going to be the role? What is my part? What is your part? How are they intertwined and interdependent? Yeah. What is the whole? We need to make a sense of that project run that was done at some point and has been, stamped with grant award. Super. Now we have to make sense of that together. Yeah. And that people fear stopping and making sense of things together. And obviously it doesn't mean that everyone is involved in the same way in discussion and then making understand, but you can structure that and give time to make sense of the pieces. Yeah. And on the same time, so you have to get people involved in understanding the task, what they're doing, and also who's going to be involved in doing those tasks. So getting the social part, no? And why I'm doing this type of work, what is my profession, how I'm involved in this entity, how I will be spending my time. I'm in this work package. I'm also in this other work package. My interest as a person, I love to be very precise in what I do. And so, because we need the social part of it, the pure social, yeah, and psychological is to do work together. We have to know the other one a bit, yeah. So that it's less unknown, to become more known, more familiar. We need to be a bit more familiar, and that needs time to be spent together on the task and on somehow, do different techniques and a bit how you design steps of being together and working together or something, so that they get to know each other, not just the dinner.
Yeah.
That's to lose. That's okay. We need that part also, that it's open, but we need also to a bit with intent, guide individuals to create those bridges of getting to know each other and also making sense of what they're going to be doing actually. And that the what is one part. That project says a what. We have to make sense of that what. So what do you understand? What do I understand? And then, hey, how are we going to do it? So how it's super open, and it's on purpose that it's open.
Hello, I'm Chiara Ligori, and I am so happy that I've joined this networking event. I invite you all to listen to the Grant podcast.
Now, Monica, you already started to give us the solution, but that's the next block. I'm just going to clearly label it. So the next block here, that's what you started talking about here. So what we're supposed to, how can you deal with this, or your suggestion to and tips on how you work with this. So the solution. So designing the system of success. You already mentioned that.
Yeah.
Unfold that.
Okay, sure. So as I was saying, it's not just about managing the what, but it's designing the how. Yeah. And there's a possibility as core team running the project, coordination team or project management team, however you wanna label it, of really setting the stage for people to work well together, to connect with each other. Obviously, we don't have the control over people and their organizations. But we do have levers, we do have things that attract people, that wake up people to dedicate attention and willingness and creativity onto what is the joint mission. Yeah. So you have to design, the solution is really designing the system, and it's if we have to turn around the table, let's turn around the table. Let's question why we're doing this. So we have a project to start with. Let's spend some time understanding, hey, what was designed here? What was planned here? And why? Yeah. And what is the vision? And get people onboarded, basically. We need to get people onboarded into what is the project that we're going to be working on together. And also onboarding into the social content of this container. We have to create a social container of people that are, going to feel this is ours. This is our project. And I start knowing who is in the, the other partner organization. And I start to understand, how this person takes and so on. So, for example, if we think of, I'm thinking now of a project that I supported recently together with Utima. Yeah, it's called Danube Lifelines project, started now in May this year. And here the Utima very openly wanted to, question basically how kickoffs are done and experiment and learn how it could be done, better. Yeah, they're already super professionals in EU practice for a long time. They're really good at facilitating the meetings and all the, key events. Yeah. And here, what we did is take some time. I'm taking just as an example. So I jumped into this project starting officially on the 1st of May.
Yeah.
And I started a conversation, at the beginning of March. Okay. First, let's meet as a core team for this kickoff, who's the coordinator for the project, who's in project management and so on. And let's do this exercise together. So what is the project about? I have to understand, and I act as a mirror. So what is the complexity of the project? What do we want to achieve? Why is it important for you as an organization? Why is it important for you as individuals? Yeah. We cannot do this with everyone. We have limited time. So obviously we have to see what are the possibilities for this type of thinking. Yeah. And setting a foundation, basically. We need to set a foundation. They knew they wanted to have true collaboration. They knew they wanted to run away from having PowerPoints, death by PowerPoint in the kickoff. Right. But hey, 2 days, 1.5 days to meet in a very complex project that has cross collaboration across, I think, 11 countries, 24 partners, 70 plus people. Sorry, that's not going to happen there. That needs steps. And we have to dare to create those steps, before that. Obviously, there's constraints. Officially, the project starts on the 1st of May. So, okay, how do we do this? So, it's a bit of a trade-off. We have to put some time before, see how we do this in a respectful way with the partners, step by step, which roles do we involve a bit more, which less, and, have with the understanding that the project, with the level of complexity it has, when we get together, it really has to be about discussing, solving, making decisions.
Mhm.
Yeah. Because from there, we're going to be working. Everyone has to, it's a kickoff, it's the launch. Everyone runs out and starts to work on their different parts, different work packages and subgroups. So, what we did is, hey, what about, let's do a phased kickoff. It's a process.
Yeah.
Let's disconnect the meeting, having the frontal presentations, partner presentations, and then the work package presentations, and then just the dinner, and maybe have some team building, team dynamics, social dynamics exercise, but rather, if this is the complexity it has, and this is the time, the weeks we have, and this is for sure the project we have to start this day in May, have the kickoff, because it's set on stone, man. We don't want to just worry anyone about making any changes. There's no needed. Let's find a solution and let's make some steps. And there is where I'm saying you have to be an architect and create those steps and those moments. And we know social collaboration requires of understanding, requires of connecting with others. So let's make that. We'll do it online. We'll onboard everyone into, we want to do this differently. We have an idea. We have a plan. Come along. Might be some changes, maybe, and as we are going and unfolding these steps, there might be some adaptations. Yeah. But we know we need to have everyone meeting before, seeing what brings them together, even in a 90 minutes. I think it was 1 hour first contact meeting with everyone that we knew, or the organization you would be there. I think it was around 40 people, something like that. Have understanding of what is the big picture, and then get people to organize into, hey, you're going to be in different work packages. Let's see how we start reorganizing that, and how people start to make sense of what is written in that paper in the grant, from the proposal that has been accepted with the adaptation, so on. What do they understand? Those that are going to be leading those work packages, how do they make sense? How do they integrate others into that, making sense together? An understanding of what they want to achieve and what are the resources? Hey, what do you see as a problem? What are inconsistencies? So what we did, this is the example of this kickoff process, is we dedicated some moments, some steps, some sessions where people first, hey, we're going to do this together. We're going to spend some time and we want you to be part of it. Yeah. And create that space for get together, come to the work package, make sense, have a structure for that conversation, have a visual support tool for everyone to interact, to discuss. Yeah. Have moderation for that to flow within a given time. Obviously, we don't have all the time in the world. Yeah. So it still requires a good facilitation.
So did they have virtual breakout rooms for the work packages? How did you do that?
We dedicated sessions to the specific work packages. And those that knew that were going to be there, they would come. If they didn't know, but also maybe were interested and see connection with their other work, or still didn't know for sure, they could come to. Yeah. So we let there's an initial chaos that we let happen and see step by step. It will come into some order. Yeah. So we need a bit of that openness and chaos, and a little bit of the order that we're giving with the steps and the formats that we're providing for people to gather and start organizing. Yeah.
No.
For example. So from there, what we already, with those conversations, people started to see each other.
Yeah.
So when they come to kickoff meeting, those that are going to be participating, that's most of them, hey, I know you. You were in this work package we discussed about, you said this thing. No, people already are familiar with some faces, with some voices, with some thoughts. Yeah. And realizing, hey, actually what we got out from this making sense and risk, what I think are the objectives, where a partner has a no person month, we detected this already. So some things that have to maybe be corrected because they missed this thing, whatever it is. Yeah. We already knew what are, let's say, things that are clear and what things are unclear. And from there, prioritize. So what do we need as a collective? If we're going to be getting together, what do we think are the key things that should happen in that kickoff meeting when we gather together? Yeah. And prioritizing that. And the design of, for example, that agenda, you make a proposal, but then you have the work package leaders there. So I know about this and the rivers, and you have the different demonstration sites in the case of the Danube events. So most of the people don't know, or a few know what this part. So we should give them, everyone is creating now that space of the 2 days where they're gathering. We're giving formats that are going to be interactive for the learning, for the exchange, for the decisions that are to be made. Yeah. So when we come to that, and obviously there's moments where the whole crew, everyone is getting the same information, the same, these are the steps, or the same, design of the agenda sent via email. This is what we thought. This is what we at this step. This is now final. We know this is final. We had this and this people that were key roles that were involved. We follow these principles. Why is this design like that? So we also try to, be transparent of why we're doing what we're doing the way we were doing it. So we want you to participate. We want to have decisions made. We want to, obviously this is a lot at some point for some people, depending on how much headspace now we have at a given moment of point of the time of the year now. But it's there, and it's their decision, if they can, to go into that and step in and be part of that thinking process and creation process. Yeah.
So
some people need a lot of detail, others with reading a few things, or being part of the beginning or the end of whatever meeting. Again, we have to rephrase and we have to summarize things and repeat things so it's clear for everyone. Yeah, at every step.
Yeah. How many showed up virtually, so to say, for the first thing there?
I think it was around 40 people in the first one, meaning really
out of
back then we didn't know, because still it was not the beginning of project officially. So even some organizations still have to, have someone contact a new person for a role and stuff like that.
How many came for the physical
around
in-person kickoff?
I think it's 50 people, something around 50 people.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah,
it's 80% that.
But it doesn't mean obviously that those 40 were exactly all those that were on the kickoff meeting. Though I think in this case it was, but it doesn't mean it always is like that. So this is the example I say you have to question a bit how you've been doing this, and go pause it for a moment, stop, pause, and actually go into what does the project need? What is the project asking for? And again, and then, hey, who are the individuals, organizations? Yeah, they all tick, they have a culture, they all have, interests, and we have to connect with them. And so this needs space and time. So putting up from this time, it's an investment for everything to after, when we get together, actually have people engaged and people discussing and people, creating the plans and finding solutions for things that didn't fit as they were in the proposal, but how do we do it, and see that people are super, then they know where they're heading, why they're doing what they're doing, who to contact. So you have to provide obviously a lot of structured info and structured, formats, be it a meeting, be it support digital tools, what everyone can access, and have a source of truth of what's happening.
Mhm. In this spirit, how was the kickoff meeting then? Did you stray off the normal path of kickoff dinner? Did you do something now that people actually knew each other? Do you understand what I mean? Did you sort of do something else in this corner?
Yeah,
Can you maybe
sure.
give an examples? I think it's
I mean,
really
again,
important.
it's the recent example, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I still we for example maintained a social dinner. Makes total sense. We need
Of
that
course, you need to have the dinner because it's important.
dinner, winding down, just chatting openly without a structure or some steps to follow. But what we did is like put a lot of thought into really every slot, yeah.
Mhm.
From the how people get together when they arrive. It was already set that they had already like picked the flights, most of them, or arranged their agendas. They had to come in an evening, and then we start the next day, and then we have the dinner, and the next day half day, something like that.
Yeah.
Only if you would stay, yeah. So that was already set in stone. So how do we do with it? What do we do with this? As we knew already, people knew each other to some extent online. They already knew where they were going to be working. Yeah, everyone really knew, had met, and they knew they had some info where they go and I'm in this project part or package. There's this list of people that's there. Everything is really super transparent and accessible. So you could orientate yourself. So when we come there, we have an agenda. We know what's going to happen. And what we had is, for example, getting together in that evening. Those that could arrive, not everyone arrived there, yeah, because that's how it is. So we knew we think of everything, and then let's have. And there's something, for example, that Nicole also does. Yeah, it's a project bingo. So again, but let's design it around, instead of bingo, social, I have a cat, you have a dog. Yeah, we found each other because we have pets at home. And I have to find others. So this game is basically to find others, to have a bingo of certain characteristics now that a person has. Yeah. And I found a partner, a colleague that has this thing. Why not do we connect it already with the project? I'm in a research institution. Who is in a research institution? Who is in work package? Who has been, I don't know, embedded, awarded with this? You can have some of the social or the personal elements, but also connected to the project. Yeah. And it was fun. We made it fun. We have a bell ringing, so you can make it dynamic and fun, also entertaining. At the same time, it's making the people go to each other and ask and get to know each other. And then I already spoke with him, and he said he had a pet, or that he's in this work package doing this type of task. Okay, hey, I actually have a question there. Yeah. So that already builds some connections. And the thing is, whatever you do has to be at the same time connected to what we're going to be doing, because we're here for work, but connected to who we are as individuals or as entities that we represent. So how do we bring that into more or less the whole, time that we're spending together? And that's one little thing. Then the next 1 day and a half, the design was about, we found out they need quality time in the work package to find out who's doing what. There's a question about this task. We need to clear who's going to be discussing this with this other work package. So they need quality time to deep dive. So when we are gathering everyone here, or those that are going to be dedicating most of the time to the project, they have to deep dive in the subgroups, but also have formats where everyone or most everyone is getting a picture of how this is connected to each other, those parts. Well, what are difficulties? What is unclear? We have to shift this a little bit. I know someone that can be helpful. I have a resource, in our company, organization, our institution. We know someone that can solve this. So we create formats where they are exchanging and everyone is getting into this conversation. So it's connected to what needs to happen, what are the difficulties, yeah. But also in between, so this is, let's say, brain task-oriented or objective-oriented most of the time to what we want to achieve in a meeting, in this case on the kickoff. But the other is, if we have had the people been in this, let's say, for a time, in this work package groupings, at some point, we get also the cross work packages, what they have to do across and inter, but also we need to break a bit those potential silos in the conversation, in how I talk to others. So let's do small formats in between. We take them out of the room. They do some speed dating, again, connected to the project with a couple of questions that allows them to connect to the individual. Who are you? What brings you to, and what are your let's say, the main thing that you want to achieve in this type of task or work package? And what are you curious about the other work package or the other, part of the project? And we do it in a way where people move. Individuals, we cannot be sitting and just receiving information and being that rational. We need kinesthetics. We need movement, for example.
Mm-hmm.
We need to have fresh air from time to time, not just be in the room and only for the coffee break. We can do this combination of things also within the consortium in-person meeting.
Walk and
for
talk.
A different format. Walk and
Yeah.
talk. Yeah. Another question that, breaks a bit and disconnects from the actual project, but that somehow indirectly, will bring other thoughts, and other connections. So you design the agenda for these things to happen. Bear in mind that, because we want collaboration, we want people to be engaged, we want people to, make decisions, to speak up. We said we want really people to speak up. So how do we create spaces and moments? And how we give, allow people to speak up, bring their microphones, how do small groups so people connect? Because some people are a bit, in big group settings, it's difficult. So how do we make them a bit more comfortable? So you have to think about all these things when you're, design an agenda, basically, when people get together. And we had that. And then we had the dinner. We got into also be open to adapting things. So we thought of this, we designed this, we agreed on this, we have now this step. Somehow, from what I've heard, I think they're proposing this change to work back. Actually, they're proposing a change. Maybe not now, but maybe after, something like that. Something makes sense. And be open also to adapt, even not during the day, but always serving those principles and those objectives of what is important, what should happen there. What do we want to take out on this time together?
The job I came from before I had my current job, it was actually an EU project that was part of my job to deal with, but it was the regional funds, so it's a little bit different, administered by the local, the national ministries. No, the point is, in my former, this is just a comment on how you try to use some different elements, surprise elements, when you facilitate meetings where you need people to work together. And I tried this, my previous position, where we had a group of SMEs that we had to. They were not used to having international labor coming from Poland or Spain or Hungary. We had a training sessions where we should sort of dress them up to how that would work for them, and we used thought up through behavioral change theory a way to shake them up here and there. One of the things, walk and talk, we made them walk into nature while they were discussing things, but also we brought in surprise elements, like we brought in candidates that they thought were candidates for jobs, real life candidates that they, for shock effect. We also I was acting as a participant myself, but being really annoying on the first day. So everybody would, what's this idiot, to sort of take them, shake them out a little bit of their ways. But so we're trying to use a different format to shake people a little bit together. They were very successful. People were very happy with how we did it, because when we then started to move into where they had to discuss things on the content, it was there was already there sort of and they were knit together already, in a way. So yeah. So I like what I want to say with it is I like that you try to play with the meeting format, because it doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't have to be like like it has always been. You need to play with this, because nobody likes them. Nobody likes to listen to 10 work package presentations. Nobody likes that everybody needs to present themselves 40 people for 2 full hours. Nobody, there are so many things that people actually don't like about these meetings. So it's just, it's not supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be a good, nice, everybody happy kick off that with this nice project that you receive funding for, and then draw on that. So it's I like the way that you're approaching this. Very nice.
We don't like, but even our brains are not wired to be just listening, standing, and receiving info. If you understand how we work, as humans, and social, we need to change formats. We need to change into movement, into listening, into image, into thinking, into connecting with the question. So when you understand these things, then it makes total sense. It's not just the individuals, they don't want to listen. They're not adults. They're not acting as professionals. Hey, it's not about that. If you understand how we learn, how we connect to things, how we get engaged, then this makes sense. The other thing can happen. It's okay to receive information, but it has to be short. Or we have to be super feed. We have to understand what is the context. So what I'm trying to convey here is that's thinking about the design of the meeting, as you were saying. But it's just this was not just another kickoff meeting, well designed. It was designed in a comprehensive, in this case, 3-phase process. So for 6 weeks before anyone met in person, we worked with the core team, with the work package leaders, with all those project members that already knew they were going to be part of the project, and as also they were joining the project, even as they were, receiving the email for the first time, or an info that during this project. So we weren't just collecting PowerPoints, and we were building alignment, we were co-creating the agenda, and we were establishing a baseline of trust. So I have to understand where I'm heading. I have to know who's going to be part of it. I have to start getting a sense of who that person is. This builds trust, builds me connecting to, there's a big picture. I know where I'm, going to be investing and contributing. So when we finally gathered for the in-person meeting, the atmosphere was completely different already. So, and then, as you were saying, we put thought into how we would spend those 2 days or 1.5 days. 75% or 80% of the time was interactive. There was no watching presentation. There was a couple of things. We know, hey, we have to revise this. There's probably new people into the EU funding, some of the rules, some of this general vision, again, because maybe a couple of people are coming for the first time to the project, and maybe they were not part of that pre-work, this onboarding phase weeks. So again, let's get them onboarded. And the rest of this, that people said, this is one of the best kickoffs I have ever attended. Even people that have been in many are veteran. And this now is much more a we project, or people saying, now I feel comfortable, and I feel comfortable. I can talk with others. I trust, that we was one of the main goals. And the other one is we need an initial plan. And that comes to the third part of the process, where we were not that naive to say, okay, now from this meeting and having this initial plan that all the work packages had an initial plan that they transmitted, they explained, and they showed in the kickoff meeting. Again, hey, let's take time again to check that. What isn't clear? Let's have the work packages having, let's have a follow-up time. And launch, definitely, like full launch, and knowing already with the official start project time running, let's have time to, connect the dots and again, refine a bit what is the first year plan. Yeah, and what are risks and what are, open questions. And have a few weeks after for this time to invest in this, and have the full launch all together online, and celebrate and have, again, it's like repeat the verb now again, but each time is with a different color, with a different depth, with new things that have been integrated. Yeah. And what we make sure is this is we, and we know where we're heading. That's what we achieved. Yeah. And obviously there's some dynamics, there's some, breakout rooms to break a bit not everyone frontal and listening. But it's it's a process. People think of, the content, the task, and then the social, but there's a process. Yeah. You have to think of 3 levels. And that's the work of a strong, let's say, leadership or coordination crew, including, engaging the work package leaders as part of that. You have to think of how things happen. What is the process? Yeah. And that's why I say you can architect that.
How do you keep how do you sustain this? How do you keep the sustainability of this? So this is the kickoff meeting, right? But you have 2 to 3, 4 years work. So how do you keep this going?
Obviously. So that's one piece. Yeah. Like anything, the first impressions, they say 90 seconds. That's when you meet a person. And that's the first impression you get. Now, this is the collective first impression. Yeah. That already has a bit of proof that we can work together. And we said we're going to be transparent. We want to participate, to speak up. So this has been happening. Yeah. So we have the first ingredients there. There's a bit of a start of a culture, of a we collective culture. But as you're saying, this needs to be sustained. Then we continue with that. You have to have I call it a playbook. You could call it operating system. So there's things that in the grant agreement that are set of how legally entities, work together. There's consortium meetings, there's this general assembly, there's this steering group meeting, there's, this bodies of how we work together, how we coordinate some stuff. Yeah. That's a part of it. There's someone probably that has set up a repository for the information. So there's some elements of things that are already there because legally they're there, or because, project management, work. But again, how do we sustain this? We have to really discuss what is important for us. So we do a playbook. We do dedicate some workshops, time, into clarifying how we're going to be working together and reflecting how actually things are happening. Really, like, for example, I don't know, and it can be as simple as saying, let's have some joint work principles. So, for example, speak up earlier than later. Yeah, so something that sticks, for everyone, even if it's bad news. So have a few of this, let's say, guiding principles that are understandable for everyone. And obviously those that are going to be the let's say, the representing face of the project, the coordinator, coordinating team, or the work actually there. We have to be, those people have to be the first examples of that. And we have to, then in my work, there's this architecture of, we have some guiding principles. Maybe we have this elements of digital collaboration, apps, and so on, depending now a bit of what is the style of the possibilities of the consortium, depending on the topic and the entities involved. But then we have to see, how is this happening? So there needs to be a bit of reflecting. How did I speak up? How did I allow the other one to criticize something, or to show that they didn't know how to do something? And it's also fine. So we have to reflect also. There's a bit of like coaching of those moments of truth.
Yep.
Is this happening or not? Because most of the time we're just not aware. Yeah, we're so much into the task, into the what, that we forget the how, and also the why we're doing this, and what we want to achieve, and so on. So, and this is with love, with care, respecting that there's different styles, and especially in these projects, different cultures, working together, that have different a bit different rules, implicit rules. So it's making the implicit explicit, basically, and making it, this is the way we're going to be, some basic common threads, or how we're going to be doing this together. And basically having strong readers or key roles, basically, that are reference for the whole, or for some of the parts, showing and really respecting those guidelines, or failing and also saying, hey, I'm sorry, you tried to speak up, you were trying to point out this, I cut at you in the middle of the phrase, what did you want to say? Or even go back and call the person. So these things that we usually, I think we forget that we're human and we need, this vulnerability also to be shown, and the simple things to be shown. So that I always said, I don't know, we're going to be doing one email subject, and the email subject, it has to have the acronym of the project, it has to have the objective. So what is the intention of this email? And it doesn't have to be sent to everyone. It should be sent to the work package, those involved, whatever is the rule. Maybe you need some simple rules of how you're going to be, for example, communicating via email, if that's the thing that mostly use. When this is not happening, we can talk about it, but in a way that it's recriminating, you're doing this wrong and you're, following, and you're out of the, not following the rules. So, but hey, guys, this is important enough. If not, it's too much, it gets confusing, it's difficult to follow. We all have really busy agendas, and it's difficult just to focus on what is that I should be involved or not. We want those to be that are contributing to this piece to be following the thread. The rest, we have said already, it's not needed. We decided, it makes sense to let them out and just provide, updates of general information in this other meeting, and be able to also speak up of these things that everyone sees this. This is the usual, and then you complain to your colleague, or complain when you get along with someone on the project. This guy is always sending 100 emails to everyone. It's so annoying, and blah, blah, blah. Instead of just complaining on the side, it's okay to vent, It's fine, it helps a little bit, but then transform that venting, complaining, or criticizing into, channel it back for things to change. And you have to reflect on this. So you create some rules, you create some formats, you create some rhythms,
So it's
and ways and styles. Articulate this.
Yep.
And you have someone, maybe the project manager is not has been assigned to this project. This is not his or her strength. Maybe he's the doer, he's the checking the reporting, he's into other stuff, and that's what we need him to do, or her to do, or this team that is doing this project management. But someone has to have the eye on how we actually collaborate, and that's the thing. So someone has to be sustaining, has to be watching, has to be guiding, and it's just holding the space, reflecting, and having people also what went well. So reflecting on how they've been working together, moments in a consortium meeting, or hey, let's dedicate a day to how is exchange of information going, I don't know, whatever it is, or this type of task, blah, there to propose things, because people usually are going to have been annoyed, irritated, or disconnecting, because there's no time being dedicated to this. Of how we do things, So you need to create those moments, space, formats for this to happen. It's a bit of hygiene, on the way we relate and collaborate with each other. Not only specific of the let's say the rational part of the project. Always connected to what is happening, the what, but discuss or question the how together, and allow that, If that is the style, obviously I'm taking for granted here that we want to have a collaborative environment. This needs space, and it needs resources. This needs being open to taking time to this. If you only want to be involved in the task and the rational part, that's very difficult. Did I reply your question, Niels?
Yeah. But I'm looking at time, so we need to move on here. But I think we did cover this quite with this block, right? So I think we need to move on to the next block on the future collaboration as a competitive advantage. So you have put here projects become more complex, AI tools and so on. So can you unfold? Thanks for listening to this episode of The Grant. All the Grant episodes have their own site on the Grant website. You'll find a link to the episode notes where you listen to your podcast. On the site for this episode, you'll find a link to Monica's LinkedIn profile and a link to her company. You'll also find a link to the implementation series overview if you'd like to explore more episodes on how to implement projects. Next week, we continue with the second half of this episode. We look ahead to why collaboration will be the real competitive advantage in proposals and get hands-on with the tools that prove it works in practice. Phased kickoffs, lightweight team playbooks, cross-work package speed dating, decision logs, and speak-up rituals, plus the psychology behind why these formats actually deliver. You can indeed look forward to that.